me, Nas Veritas, coming at you live and loud. Hopefully, you're all there waiting for me because it's an empty house here today. Ram was doing his thing, going to get educated so he can continue to educate the populace, and Weapon will be along whenever he gets his tech issue situated. Hey, I'm just gonna say, this tonight's episode is supposed to be all about, your magazine capacities, how much is too much, and I personally am of the opinion that if you can carry it, it's enough. But let's go ahead and give a little roll call for our early entrance here. Hawkeye, I saw you were first in the chat. Thanks for coming on. Tom Petrick, good to see you again, sir. Mr. Vino, hello. Weapon lurking in the chat there. There you are. I see you. M. Adams, how we doing? All right. Who else is coming on there? Oh, and there's my compatriot. There we go. All right. So you get your tech issues situated there, bud?
I think so. I think
all right. All right. Cool. So
Bluetooth is giving me a little lip.
Yeah, well, tech is what it is. That's why you need to simplify. Go with the corded. It's okay. So I think that the magazine's terminology is one of those stopping points. Politicians are calling them high capacity magazines when really they mean
normal capacity
anything over
magazines.
10. Exactly. Here's the magazines that you've been having for decades now, and they've been standard capacity. Some brands more than others, less than others. Hey, Dekine, how you doing? Thanks for joining in. Ram slacking off over there again. No, again, I'm kidding, folks.
I mean,
he had a long day.
We had this conversation the other night, me, you, and Ram, and there's only 3 situations in which it's possible to have too much ammo. The amount of ammunition that you're carrying exceeds your buoyancy when you fall out of the boat. The weight of ammo exceeds the load capacity of the floor you're standing on, or the volume of ammo exceeds your storage capacity or volume available.
I mean, that's really about it, because if you're in a situation that's life or death and, you have somebody shooting at you or whatever, you don't know how many rounds you're going to need. And sure as hell no politician's going to be able to predict that.
Absolutely not.
There's no way that you can account for every situation. But the only people that a magazine limit hurts are the people that are law-abiding citizens who only want to defend ourselves. All right. Tom, bulk box 12 popper. I don't know about that in Maryland.
Well, I know there's a budget proposal out for our lovely state of Minnesota here with our wonderful Governor Walz.
Yeah,
has proposed to do capacity ammo magazine bans here.
Yeah,
10 for rifle, 15 for pistol.
Vermont has that same restriction. I was just verifying the information earlier. We have 10 rounds magazine limits in California, Connecticut, District of Columbia, Hawaii, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, Rhode Island as of 2022, and Washington State. Like I said, Vermont has a 10 round for rifle, 15 for handgun, but I mean, you don't need a giggle stick. Sure, 15 is at least standard. Colorado has a 15 round limit, so no giggle stick there. The thing that got me is District of Columbia has a freaking only enough ammo to load your pistol 2 times, which means with their 10 round limit, you can literally only carry 20 rounds on you in the District of Columbia.
Well, right.
Yeah.
I mean, I carry 35 here in the state of Minnesota, depending on where I'm going. If I'm just going to the supermarket nearby, I'll probably just carry 115 round loaded. If I'm going somewhere fucking sketchy, I've got the 15 round loaded and the 20 as a backup. And it's simple. I mean, mags fail. It's hardly, you know, common, but it does happen. Also, in a situation where you may have to defend yourself, you might get sloppy with your handling and defensive skills in a shooting scenario.
Yeah,
maybe
we can't help you, Elijah Dickinson.
Yeah, maybe you accidentally drop a mag, or maybe you get a mag that jams, or whatever the case may be. You're going to want that second one, and you're probably going to want that second one to have a little more capacity than the first one did, especially if it failed on you halfway through shooting.
Yeah, you definitely want to have the backup for the backup. We've been over that fairly recently. Ram says that the 20-round handgun mag cap in Virginia, which is unfortunate. But at least the follow-up is you can carry as many as you want.
Oh, exactly. I can carry as many mags as I want. That's reasonable.
There was a bill introduced in Massachusetts recently that, thank God, hasn't gained any traction yet, that is basically seeking to make it so that you can only have single-shot pieces. Essentially, that's the TLDR version of the bill. It's just asinine.
Was that California?
No, Massachusetts, dude.
Well, I'm not surprised.
No.
I mean, I'm surprised, but not surprised it was just California.
Well, I mean, think about it. The governor of Massachusetts is now Maura Healey, the attorney general that, through judicial fiat, said any copycats of an AR-15 are no longer allowed. Rawr. But again, doesn't have the right to make law. Still doesn't. People in politics seem to forget exactly how this system is supposed to work. Okay, M. Adams. Yeah. So back to cap and ball.
I'm actually surprised that the California state hasn't adopted muzzle loaders and muzzle load only, with as far out as they go on their fucking laws there.
Okay, so fun fact: Massachusetts. You need your LTC or FID to purchase powder, primers. Basically, any part of ammunition is considered ammunition, and you have to have FID or LTC to purchase it. Here we go. Darth Dav magazine fell and the base plate fell off. Yeah, that. Yep. I could see where that would be a problem.
And rained rounds all over the ground.
Not in the fun way. Not going off at an ejection pattern that you can like. Tom, I seriously hope not, man. Band never worked in the 90s. It will now. No. See,
yeah. And a lot of them don't. And the thing is, too, with it is when you have the ATF, you know, for a lot of these rules, trying to go into effect, the only people that are going to follow them are the scared, the weak, us, you know, the law abiding.
Yeah.
And then you've also, I mean, when it comes to the brace ban, for example, I've seen several letters issued by certain police stations, sheriff's offices, stating that they're not going to comply with the ATF rule. They don't plan on taking anybody's firearms or contacting the ATF unless that person has broken a law.
Which they know that the ATF doesn't make the law.
Broken the law that would take them and firearms out of the equation with each other, of course.
Right. Hey, quick tangent over here. Bob, welcome. Thanks for joining in. The Stipple-Tech iron any good? Is there a better option? Jetta Man over here, he's lounging out, watching the show, says they're good to go. And all right.
Is that the one from OT Defense, Bob?
You're gonna have to wait a minute for him to catch that and reply. So let's carry on here. It says Clint Smith, awesome, love it. Said that he had a magazine get caught by his seatbelt when he was a cop, and it took a shit. I can imagine that.
Yep. Everybody in the chat, how many magazines do you carry on you? What is your backup? You know, we can start with us here in the on the live, and then scroll down to you guys while you guys type in your answers. But do we have any guys here in the chat that carry 3 or more magazines on them?
Well, you already gave your loadout. Being in Massachusetts, I'm limited to 10 rounds per. Like you, I like to have a little bit more than that, so I carry 1 in and 2 as a backup. If one fails, I've got another one plus extra. I'd like them all to be 15s, but you know how it is. Mm-hmm. All right. Bob, 13 in PX4 and 15 in the spare. Okay, that's good. Hey, Ed Levant, good to see you. Usually just 2. Okay, fair enough. You've got 1, your primary, and then at least a backup. That's excellent.
Yeah, the OT Defense stippling kits are good to go. I use the OT Defense stippling iron almost exclusively, and I own 2 other ones. One of them is an adjustable temp that I just could never get dialed into exactly where I wanted it, so the OT Defense one has been perfect.
All right. So quick little backtrack here. We have M. Adams said, talk standard capacity, 17 rounds. Yeah, I see him. We'll bring him on one second.
Gentleman in the back there.
AR holds 30 rounds. Some 9mm handguns are now 21 rounds. Standard capacity. I would agree.
Standard.
And a frequent flyer on this channel and a man of much appreciated wisdom and knowledge. Let's bring him on, shall we? Welcome, Hawkeye. Glad to have you again.
Up, buddy?
How are you?
Hey, guys.
What's up, friend?
Just wanted to chat in and say, hey, everybody.
Appreciate you. Always good to have you on. Darth Dev was commenting on what you carry. He says 1 in the gun and 2 back up. That's my plan. I appreciate you. Jetta Man. Hey, Ram, how you doing? 15 rounds and 20 rounds on body, plus 20 in the car. Okay, fair enough. Hopefully you don't need to go running for the car. I'm joking. Mr. Vino, depending on the situation, but normally 2, fair enough. I mean, you do have to take these things into account.
Yeah.
Mr. Bernie, 2 mags, 31 rounds total. Fair enough. Okay, you got 1 in the chamber, 1 in, or however the case may be. Sure. I don't know your particular state, so it could be either 2 15s or 3 10s, because yay. Let's see. M. Adams, 1 12 round in my G26 and a 15 as a backup, or a 17 round G17 with grip sleeve, depending on where I'm going. Again, fair enough.
Yeah.
D-kind, 2 mags is the norm. Yep. All right. And Hawkeye,
if I'm carrying my G26, it's 2 12s.
I carry 1 pistol, 1 mag. Of course, I don't live in a war zone, so I'm not worried about much.
Fair enough.
Dude, there was 2 shootings of note and within an hour drive of me, which is not a very large area, I suppose, but one was at a local mall, and it was between an altercation between 2 people known to law enforcement.
Yeah.
So obviously they've had run-ins before. Why weren't they in jail? Who knows? And then the other one was actually like right downtown at a place where it's a bar that's right next to a delicatessen owned by the same people. And I used to go to the delicatessen all the time, and only maybe 2 months ago stopped. So dodged that bullet, literally. But the shooting at the bar was kind of funny because we have this shot spotter thing, and apparently it wasn't tripped. Either way, in both circumstances, you want to know what happened? The police didn't show up until after things were already done, over with, and somebody had died. So,
well, one thing I wanted to tell you about what happened back in the 90s with ban on capacity magazines. The manufacturer still made the same magazine. They just put a plug in the bottom of it. So when you got the magazine, you pop the base cover off, take the plug off, and then you had a full round magazine. Now, they did change that to where what they did was they put weaker springs in there, so they wouldn't work as many ammo. Those failed a lot, but you could go in there.
The 10-round California compliant mags.
Yeah, but you could buy replacement springs and stuff. So this is nothing more than just we're going to hassle you. You're going to like it.
Well,
that's all it is.
That is exactly it. And I mean, unfortunately, if we don't speak up for ourselves, there's not a whole lot that we can do about it to stay in compliance.
The only thing you can do about it is go and vote.
Yes, sir.
Because that's what happened in the 90s. Once we got the vote and this stuff timed out and it was time to be renewed, a lot of these regulations, the law got done away with. Now you hear them talk about when they banned the assault rifle ban back in the 90s. They had all this, don't put a ban.
Now they're calling them military style weapons.
Yeah, but still you can't have a bayonet lug on an AR. I mean, it's come on, who does that anyway? But still, that was too scary.
Name me any major war that was won by a bayonet charge. Come on now.
Yep.
The point I'm trying to make is people like us who build our own firearms or customize them or play around with them and upgrade them with better parts and stuff like this ain't going to slow you down.
No.
All you're going to do is find the parts you need to put them to change out so you have the higher capacity magazine or, your AR, you still have an AR. It just, doesn't have a bayonet lug on it. And so what? I got this knife here in my hand. So, and you ask yourself, what do these regulations really do? Do I carry one magazine with 15 rounds or do I carry two that give me 20? That's like I said, this is nothing more than a hassle
for anybody
that shoots guns. But you got to live with it. I've lived with it for a long time now, and it's the same stuff over and over and over.
Yeah. And yes, like you said, most of us here in the Builders Tribe, thank you all, brothers and sisters, for joining us. And hey to Matthew Kachera, thank you. We know how to adjust these things. It's a matter of, replace the spring or maybe remove a pin or both, depending. And certainly we can make that decision individually. No pressure, but it's not hard.
In the long run, it all comes down to voting. You need to vote. Your family needs to vote. You need to talk to your
write letters to your Senate.
Shoot with to vote.
Yeah.
And that's the only way this stuff changes.
Yes, sir.
It has to affect you enough to where you go and take the effort to make it change, or it won't change. That's the way things work.
Exactly.
And the more violence we see, I'm seeing people going that would previously have never wanted to carry are now considering going out and getting a firearm.
Yeah, because it's a scary world we live in. I've even spoken to.
I can't blame them.
Yeah, I've spoken to some friends of mine who are very anti-gun. Many 5-6 years ago, if you would have talked to them, whereas talked to them 3 months ago and like, hey, when can you take me to the range one of these days? I'd love to go shooting.
Yep. And here in Massachusetts, you have to have an FID or LTC before you can go purchase Yada. Okay, fine. I've been preaching the good word of carry your shield with you wherever you will. And I've had a few people go, do you teach the class? I'm going, I'm working on it. It's, one of those things where I can point them in the right direction to knowledgeable and happy instructors. I will get there myself sooner rather than later, God willing, but classes, time and money. That's always how it is. But
training. Yep.
I mean, if you're not doing at least some training regularly, you're doing yourself and the world a disservice. But the night's discussion there, the magazine capacity, I think we're all feeling about the same as far as, it's better to have more than you need, and you never really know how many you're going to need.
And we all know the answer to that question is all of them.
Yes. Oh, I don't know, though. Those 50 cals for the Deagle are just a little heavy. No, joking. And I think people are, that aren't in the gun world are of the opinion, oh, more is worse. But who's it really stopping? Criminals, by definition, aren't following the law. So,
no, and we have already seen what the magazine bans did in California. I mean, nothing. I mean, you still see videos posted daily with guys with 20, 30 round magazines and their pistols down there.
Yeah.
And, most of them, obviously, that we're seeing are criminals. So if it's not stopping the criminals and getting them, why stop the law-abiding citizens from attaining them? I know for the one proposal here in the state of Minnesota, there's not even a contingency or any grandfather clause built into that currently. Nothing within side of the written text anyways. And I know, of course, there was also some of our also favorite red flag laws built into that little proposal as well.
Which, again, don't usually work well, if at all. So, and so, and Massachusetts, again, I'm more familiar with that than any other. You can go to your local gun store, and oftentimes they'll have a box of AR magazines in either 20 or 30 round flavors, because if they're made before that certain date, they're still saleable. And if you have the right stamp on your card from, government permission slip, you're allowed to have them, technically, maybe, if the Attorney General doesn't want to give you a ration. But I think that firearms in general are being used as a political pawn because it's a great soundbite. Yeah, thank you, Hawkeye. I know I'm stating the obvious to most folk, but feel free to quote me on that.
I always like to go,
hey, I'm gonna have to cut that out, just the whole video thing. But it's one of those things where people are being led astray because some politicians, a lot of politicians, mostly wearing blue, say, hey, look, this thing's bad and it would be good to not have these. But where's the proof? I mean, where's the actual honest to God proof that having a reduced magazine capacity would save lives? Like you said, weapon, it probably wouldn't. Yes, Ed, red flag law is definitely an easy way to disarm us. Because that person's dangerous. Take away their rights.
Yep.
With no due process.
As my buddy said, boo hoo, I don't like him. He made me sad. 911.
Oh my God. Okay, so my kid came home today and he had a slip of paper from the school. I'm like, oh no, what happened? He got in trouble for throwing snowballs on recess. Not like with rocks in them or anything like that, just throwing snowballs. I'm going to sign the paper and say, I'm glad he had a good time. I'll encourage him to do that.
Well, all I got to say is you don't have to live up north where I'm at to see snowflakes.
Yeah, well, and unfortunately, they're all melting. Kids today are a little more protective than they were when we were younger. And Hawkeye, you can probably speak more to that than we can. Experienced and all. Hey, Mr. Bernie, what you got there? Time for the tactical blunderbuss. All right, let's see what we can do. Can I 3D print that maybe? Only if I can get it working again. Someone somewhere doesn't want us to be able to fight back. That sounds like it's right along trend there. We we are doing our best to fight back for our freedoms and the right to defend that freedoms and ourselves and our families, our homes. But people are stripping those from us.
I'm just gonna start carrying around the fucking 25-inch, or start carrying around the 57-inch halberd. Nobody fucks with a guy with a halberd. What?
Yeah, tactical snowballs. Yeah. I believe that when you're assaulted with a snowball, you have the right to snowball them back.
That's right.
Well,
damn straight.
I mean, when I was a kid, that was considered playtime, perfectly normal. I mean, and you were cautioned to make sure you didn't have like ice or rocks in them. Okay, fine.
You want a story about?
I've got two fucking words for you guys. Okay, that tells you how fucking bad our society is going. 2 words for you, and I think Nas knows where I'm going with this. 2 words for you: dodge ball.
Yeah,
it separated the men from the mice.
Yeah, okay? Yeah,
it hasn't existed in schools in like 15 years now.
No, and boy, if you didn't learn how to do that matrix dodge out of the way of a freaking dodgeball, you were hurting.
When I was in the 2nd, 3rd grade, me and a buddy, this is when I lived up around Chicago. If we went out for recess, we played in snow drifts, snowball fights every time. When we come back in, the teacher would get all mad at us because she got in trouble from my friend's mother because he would come home wet from playing in the snow. So she warned us, if you do that one more time, I'm going to take your pants off and put them on the dryer and dry them there in class, and you'll sit there in your underwear. The next day we went out and we did the exact same thing, but I was careful. I didn't get my pants wet, but that's exactly what she did. Can you imagine what would happen to that teacher today if she was to do something like that? But you know something? We quit getting our pants wet and sitting in wet clothes all day.
See, yes, you learned a viable and reasonable life lesson. Of course, if you wanted to cause a little mischief, you would have gone commando.
Yep, that would have been something.
I mean, you guys wear underwear?
On occasion.
Yeah.
If you can't dodge a wrench, you can't dodge a ball. Yeah, true. That was
things you can't unsee, I guess.
You know, Darth Dev, George Carlin routine about growing in safety. Yes, excellent. Yep. Carlin was fantastic with so many things. His customer service skit was also choice. Not so much as Mr. Conductor for Thomas the Tank Engine, though, which he did that too. But anyway, yeah, well, I miss Carlin too, man. There's so much overprotection for our kids. Oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this. They're not being allowed to grow. Meanwhile, there's way too much restriction for our usage so that we can't protect our kids. It's such a strange dichotomy. I mean, I don't want to have to carry 5 magazines to have 50 rounds on me. I wouldn't mind 3 15s and then 1 in. Okay, fine. It's just more of a hassle than anything else. But especially if they start pushing for, oh, you can only carry a single shot or a revolver, or that's when you get the 22 revolver with the 11 shots and it'd be like,
or that 38 they make that carries 9.
Yep. I mean, or we just start milling our own. We'll make a big old freaking 30 shot. No, that's a hand cannon. Tripod. Yeah, this is my pistol.
Have to start carrying extra mags as a belt buckle.
That's not bad. So,
it's just a cylinder, just an extra cylinder. You just switch the cylinders out. That's just a belt buckle.
Some years ago,
50-round drums in a backpack, and you carry a 50-round drum. How about that?
So, me in the backpack with the M. Adams says finally an excuse to get a Derringer. I remember a couple years back seeing
Have you seen that folding one? That little folding. It's like a folding 4-shot Derringer.
And there's
Pretty
the
dope.
safety card one, which okay,
Mhm.
fine, only has 10 rounds or whatever, but
Yeah, they're so prone to jamming though. Those life cards.
yeah, I
Those life cards
saw
are so prone to jamming.
I believe it was a black powder 2 or 3 shot belt buckle at one point in time. You could just pop it off and it's ready to go. Okay, fine. They're scared and plan on doing something a normal person would retaliate for. Yeah, I ain't wrong there. Government protecting us to death. You know what?
We all know what's going on.
Quote of the night, Darth Dab, government protecting us to death. You get the quote of the night award there, bud. I really think that we should be allowed to exercise our rights and protect our family in a manner that we see fit within reason, reasonable force being a thing. You're not going to, shoot somebody for them smacking you with a paper towel, but equitable force.
Listen, if I want to carry 35 rounds and a 5-pack of throwing knives with me when I go on my late night walks at nighttime, that's my fucking business.
Yeah.
You're not hurting anybody in doing so.
It's like this. When they banned 3-wheelers and yard darts, that's when society started really going down. Too many idiots living long enough to be a problem.
Well, the Darwin Awards were one of my favorite shows. Not really a show, but you know what I mean. It's one of those things where survival of the fittest does have a certain place. Now, that, just to be clear, that does not include in my mind those that cannot reasonably defend themselves due to some form of inability to do so, whether it be physical or mental.
Right. I'll never forget the one where the guy's got a Honda 3-wheeler. What are they? 200 cc's, 300, something like that. And he puts barely a 3-year-old on him and turns it loose and wonders why his kid got hurt.
Well, I mean, it's been a phrase forever, but common sense ain't so common anymore. They didn't account for inflation.
or the group suing the guys that make yard darts because their kids were out there playing catch with them.
Man, Bob and Darth Dab spitting straight wisdom tonight, just left and right.
Bob, if they really want to make cars safer, they would get rid of guardrails and airbags and put a big metal spike in the middle of the steering wheel. Yeah, I mean, my eldest is just about of age to get a learner's permit, and I really don't think he's going to be at a point where I feel comfortable with him driving. I'm sorry, but I know him. I love him very much. I don't trust him driving 2.5 tons of death.
We've got a message here from Ram.
Yep. I was going to kick that right up.
Here.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, buddy.
You got it. It's all good. We're cross-clicking here. So Ram just wants to remind everybody before you forget last week to get in on any of the giveaways. Now the giveaways, of course, still, if you're a member of the forum, you know where to go right there. For now, that will be changing in the very near future. So get in on those giveaways. He's going to draw for anything that has at least 3 people signed up. Your odds are pretty good. Go in there, get it going. It's all good. We're working on transitioning to the new forum that money's money. It is what it is. And let's see, Bob, let's get back over to you here. There are no lifeguards at the gene pool. No, but I mean,
truer words have not been said.
I can understand trying to protect people. Okay, fine. But take it on a case-by-case basis. Ed wants to pass a message to Ram just so he can see it. I was throwing it up for him.
Make it a little more visible.
Check your forum messages. Yeah,
we'll do part 2 of the stippling for beginners on the 21st of February. So
Yeah, I've had a
that's when we'll get to
few
that.
people interested in that when we drop it over on Reddit.
Excellent, excellent. You are one of the foremost in my mind as far as actual customizing and mods goes, Hawk. I appreciate you dropping your knowledge on us.
Well,
Absolutely.
we get through with stippling, we'll get into all the different mods you can do to frames. I was thinking we might start with all the trigger guard kind of mods you can do. But if anybody's got an idea of what they want me to talk about, just post me a question in the forum and we'll work up a whole segment on it.
All right.
You know, whether sanding down a frame or, you know, putting inlays into your grips, the kind of stuff. That's what I have in mind doing. If anybody has any other ideas,
you know, as a matter of curiosity, I'd love for you to go over how you did the wolf paw print. I know it was hard, but just as an example, it's pretty viable. You know what I mean?
That'll be part of the trigger guard custom stuff.
Oh, exactly.
Awesome. Yeah, look forward to that.
And we just wanted to pass along a little thanks from Bob Masawi. He says, thanks, Hawkeye. And I mean, I'm sure we all do because you have a wealth of information to pass on to us.
Pop back over to Matt's.
Yeah,
dude, they grow up fast, man. Me and my wife got together now almost 15, 16 years ago. And about 3 years into our relationship, we had inherited a goddaughter, essentially, who is now turning 14.
Oh, run for the hills.
Dude,
run for the hills.
The time just flies. It does. Well, I mean, we haven't seen her in a while. She's 14. Are you kidding me? Like she wants to hang out with her godparents? Nah.
And I mean, if you do see her, she's going to be on her phone.
Yeah. No, straight up.
I mean,
yeah, they grow up fast, man. It's scary, dude. It's scary.
Yeah.
They give out these Chromebooks, laptops for kids in the school. My kid's there in the freaking school Wi-Fi watching YouTube, walking down the hall, literally bouncing off the walls because he's not paying attention to where he's going. And you think he's going to have a driver's license? Hell no. No.
Yeah, I got 2 daughters I raised up, and I got a granddaughter I helped raise up, and she just turned 21. Finding out she can go buy liquor now.
Oh, God.
That's a scary concept.
Yeah. It's almost as scary as when they actually turn that age of 15, 16, 17, 18, 19.
My eldest son is 15. He'll be 16 end of the year. He has a less than a year old baby sister from his mama, and I'm like, good for you. You can be a mama and possibly a grandma at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Aw, hey, Adams, thanks for sharing, bud. It's a good age, it really is, and at least they're not that far apart. But anyway, the great thing about our chats is we get to talk about whatever we want, whenever we want. The bad thing is sometimes we get off tangent, but there are, like we were saying, a number of states that already have magazine bans. I can imagine more coming down. Yeah.
How about all those logos that you can see on magazines you can buy now? Is that a problem for anybody? They think if they go to a range with one of these magazines that's got printing all over them, it's going to be a problem? Or
I mean, I don't necessarily need a Michael Kors magazine or Louis Vuitton magazine or whatever. It ain't no purse or watch or nothing. And I mean, what are you going to be looking at the logos as they drop on the ground? Come on now.
Yeah, the base plate has logos on them. I know we've had this conversation before about how, you don't want to paint up your guns with all these decals and stuff. But I see no problem with that on a range gun. I don't do that on a concealed carry weapon. But my concealed carry weapon doesn't have any little insignias on it either. So I was just wondering what people thought about those.
That's reasonable. I can understand if you're making a modification or buying something to match a custom or Gucci piece. That makes sense to me. I sorry. Hold on a second. I personally don't go for a whole lot of flare yet. Would be nice. Kind of want to get into stippling to add that much to it, but that also has the purpose of gripping it. I don't really care so much about what it looks like because
I was really amazed at the difference of the grip because growing up shooting a lot, I always put my weapons with rubber grips. I like the feel of that rubber, and I didn't get into stippling that fast because I didn't think I'd like it as much. I was using a lot of those rubber stick-ons that I think feel really good. But once I started the stippling and learn how to knock the high points and stuff off, the grip is amazing on some of these. I mean, it's just like it fits right in your hand and won't move. So yeah, stippling is a must way to go on any kind of. If that's the only custom thing you do to your pistol, that's what you need to do.
I'm looking forward to it just because. I mean, I'm not, made of water, but I do get a slippery grip from time to time. Now that's not going to help if I do any mods to the magazine, though. And just the visual, I'm more of a simple utilitarian mindset. Does it work? Fine, keep it. Let's do it. It's one of those things. Base plates, again, change them out if you want, but I don't see the reason to put a logo on a base plate or magazine unless it's part of the design of your custom piece.
Yeah.
Hey, Darth Dev, I got you. Function over form, yeah.
And how about, since we're talking about magazines, the fit of magazines compared, aftermarket magazines.
That's exactly what I was laughing at. Thank you, Nas.
Yeah, but if you've noticed, a lot of your aftermarket and your Glocks magazines, they don't feel the same in a pistol. And one thing I'm running into right now that I notice a big problem with are these Advantage Arms 22 clips.
Yep.
In that Lone Wolf, they don't fit worth a flip. You got to polish them and sand them and hit the high spots and stuff. But here's the plus. Once you do that to that clip, you can shoot anything you want in that thing. It just bang, bang, flip, 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 flip. And where I could take the same clip and I can put it in a P80. And if I don't finagle it around to where it fits tight and doesn't wobble, I'll hit about 3 rounds and I'll get a stovepipe or something. And I've tracked it down to the fact that these clips do not fit tight enough in these P80s for these 22 conversion clips to work properly.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna hop back to Matt Kuchera's question here. So what I've actually found that works really well, you can hop on Amazon or eBay and you can find those little polymer crates, just a little polymer lockbox, almost like a little ammo box, or you'll find them for a lot of the times for taking care of glass pipes and stuff like that as well. I just use one of those. It's probably one of the closest materials, cheap materials that I found with a lot of surface area to be able to practice on. I mean, when you've got a cube that's, a half a foot by a quarter of a foot squared, you've got quite a bit of material that you can stipple on.
Yeah,
at least practicing your pattern, your actual stipple pattern.
I just pick up whatever piece of plastic I got laying around. I'm not worried about it being polymer or not. Like you said, I'm looking for the pattern I want to use. And the reason for that is I think it helped me in the beginning because plastic melts so.
Yeah, I think one of the most
So-
important things is not necessarily finding a material that melts, but finding a material that melts close to
Fast.
the
So
same
when you
melting point as the polymer, or even if it's something that melts slower, that's not necessarily a bad thing.
But then when you go to different brand frames, depending
Yeah,
on
they're
how
different.
much filler they have in them, they burn
Mhm.
different.
M&Ps
So,
burn faster than, say, a P80 frame or a Glock. I
Yeah,
found
The,
that.
that's why I really haven't noticed that, because I guess I'm not looking for that. I'm getting my feel on the first couple of ones. Well, most of the stippling I've done on the last couple of builds, I've done that at least 2 to 3 times. In other words, I'd start and wouldn't like it, and I'd start over, and I'd do it, and I'd start
Yep.
over
Wipe it
till
out.
and
yeah.
I would get the feel. To me, once I figured that out, if I'd have known that at the beginning, I would have never. I would always stipple, but
Yeah.
it's really just having the confidence and knowing you can fix whatever you mess up.
And that's really important to us in Hawkeye. I think that's something that a lot of people forget about, is it's not permanent, especially if you don't go too deep. If you're not cutting a
Right.
recessed border in and not recessing
Right.
your pattern,
In
it's
It
as
melts
simple
it
as almost
over.
an eraser, to wipe out and then
back
start
in the
over.
forum, I asked the question: should you paint stippling or should you leave it plain? Well, if you paint it and you want to do it over, well, you got to sandblast it to get the paint off, and then you got to flatten it all out and do it over. If you leave it the color of the pistol and just polish it to make it shine again or make it dull, however you want it to look. If you ever decide you want to do it or change a design to go with a different color or something, you can go in there and just start changing, flatten it all out and do it
Right.
over again. And you don't have to
Right.
sandblast it. But the point is, depending on what procedures you take, you can always redo these things. I got a pistol I'm getting ready to start probably next winter that it's been done 3 times already. And the reason I keep redoing it is I keep improving on my skills. And to me, that no longer meets my high standards, so I'm going to redo it.
So what you're saying is you've upped your standards, so now everybody else needs to up theirs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep it going. See, that's the thing, too. You buy a frame, they're cheap. You mess it up, you can buy another frame. Once you get all those parts, you can create whatever you want as many times as you want and change out slides and frames, and it's all up to you.
Little backtrack. Darth Dav shared he has the Advantage Arms conversion kit for the 940C P80 4 mags. Haven't had any issues. I have a similar experience.
Yeah.
I will say that the P mags for normal 9mm had a similar issue like Ed's saying here, is that the plastic mags will swell when fully loaded after sitting a while. I think that is possibly a thing. Sometimes they get a little tight, don't want to drop loose. But
especially when you have smaller rounds that spread further with inside of the mag than, say, a 9mm or a 45 would.
Well, I have a 26 and a 17 that I've also converted in for 22s, and I haven't had any problem with those magazines. It's just this one that I'm having trouble with, and it happens to be a compact, but it also happens to be another one that I used to be a 9mm, and I changed it over, so this is at least its second build. So. It could be I just wearing in there.
Could be.
But I know for the Lone Wolf doing the mag to fit in that, I had to specially polish the frame on the inside and polish the particular slide I'm using. So it's a one slide only gun now. I won't be able to interchange with it because I'm not going to change all my slides over for that one gun.
But, interesting how that worked out for you.
To go back to Matt's question here. Stipple down the new P80 plastic? I don't. Looking for clarification on your question.
Almost wondering if he was trying to joke about what was going on in the chat at that point in time.
Oh, gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah, sorry. There is a bit of delay between what we say when they see it and when we see the responses they put. So it's what it is. But speaking of delay, we got maybe 10 minutes or so left for our normal kind of shtick. So if anybody has any questions, we still have a few minutes. Follow up here, Matt. I'm getting approval with my consciousness on joining the stipple class without letting the misses. So what you can do is tell her that you're practicing the stipple technique to do something custom just for her. It'll be a Valentine's Day present. Yeah, that's it.
Gotcha.
Darth Dev says Pro Mag for Glock 44 didn't work. Maybe. Okay, sure. I can appreciate that. Pro Mag 18 round magazine. All right, that's a bit. Oh, yeah, here's a follow up. Matthew, Siren Shell is looking for new tools that will work for the trigger housing. That's a viable excuse, plausible deniability. And M. Adams uses OEM, Magpul, and ETS for Glock P80. Yep. I
use only OEM. Maybe I might have a Magpul or two. I've never had any issues with them, but I use pretty much strictly OEM.
I think the ETS clear mags look great for training purposes. If you're like showing somebody this is how you load it, yada yada.
Right,
look, and you can even see. Look, they're all dummy rounds. You don't have to worry about it. But here's a semi-magazine related thing. Any of you use those? What are the ETS speed loaders? Zip strip a 10. Put it right
I haven't. I've been wanting to. I know that like my typical range I go to has just the standard like Glock mag loaders there, pretty much at every station. Funny enough. Yep.
Yeah.
Which I fucking hate those, by the way. No, I would love to get one of those ETS loaders. They're pretty dope, man.
Yeah, they're like what, $35, something like
Granted,
that.
with prices the way they are, I don't go and shoot off that much ammo enough to qualify.
I got a couple of those on the wall. I need to try those out. I haven't tried those out yet. I bought them. I haven't tried them yet.
Please do try them and report back.
I'm a big Glock magazine guy. I've tried all these aftermarket ones. Some fit, some don't. They'll be the same brand. I really like a Glock magazine, and I'll change the base plate on it. Now, a lot of times when you change the base plate on one and you put in a magwell, big magwell on them, they won't work. Even Glock base plates won't work in some because how big they are. You got to hand fit them and all that. But the big thing about that is a Glock magazine is steel overlay. It'll last forever. Changing the base plate, you can change your magwell and make it fit. And the big key about that is when you do that, you actually fit that magazine to that pistol. So when you jam that clip up in there, it don't move. I mean, it's there. If you notice, a lot of these aftermarket ones, when you don't have a magwell or nothing in there, it just kind of jingles around and stuff. It does not feel real is the whole point. That's why you want to customize this frame and fit your parts, no matter what part. And then you'll have something that don't rattle. It's as solid as it can be. You rack it back, it's slick and solid. That's what you want out of a build. And a lot of it starts with how your magazine fits. Whether you're going to have stovepipes or things going to hit you in the face. And it all starts with first-time quality.
Exactly, which is where the FTQ 80 came in from. Hey, we got one question here. Matt, you've been really vocal tonight. Appreciate you. I think this is probably gonna be the last thing here. Thinking about buying a billet extractor from Boogeyman Customs. What are your thoughts on billet extractors versus OEM? OEM extractors kind of suck. They're not really sturdy. They'll eventually wear away to uselessness. The billet extractors I've used were ADP Builders. They have some. Zafiri had one for a while. I'm assuming they still do. Basically, anything that's solid metal would be better than OEM, in this guy's humble opinion. How about you, Weapon? What do you think?
If it seats, it yeets.
All right.
As all the kids are saying nowadays. If it seats, it eats. I use OEMs. I mean, on 2 out of 3 of my builds, I did use a billet extractor on the Murder Hornet build. I did though.
Okay. All right.
And I think that billet extractor was from Zev, if I remember correctly.
All right. How about you, Hawkeye? Any comment on the billet thing, the extractor?
Well, when you talk about a bullet extractor, I think about a bullet extractor for a reloader where you put it in a hammer, you take the bullet out, and you save your powder, and you start off with a new case.
No, the extractor on your pistol, the billet, yeah, as in the solid metal unit that's been milled down, or the
that extracts the case, not the bullet.
Yeah, a billeted extractor versus a pot metal extractor.
Because the OEM ones are metal injection molded, if I remember correctly. Basically, it's, for lack of a term, it's a 3D printed extractor for, basically. Oh, it says he did purchase an Apex. Works good on some of the other Glocks. Okay, good feedback. Good feedback. Speaking of feedback,
I always look at it as a machine part is always better than a cast, and the reason for that is strength. And if you have a milled part that is heat treated to the proper hardness, it'll last for a long time. Where you can't really do that with a cast, say cast metal, aluminum mix. They just don't have the strength because of the way they are. If you ever really look at metal, it actually has a grain to it, like wood does. And if it's milled properly, it can hold up forever.
And that's where Damascus comes in, because you've got 2 different graining patterns working against each other, basically. But anyway, we're about at that time, folks. I think we had a really good discussion, mostly about magazine capacity and a few other things that came up. Thank you, everyone, for watching tonight. I want to say, hey, Tom, I know you're out there watching. When we're signed off here, why don't you pop on backstage? We'll talk at you. Here's the link. Okay. Good night to everybody. Thank you for watching. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Share with your friends. We want to pass the word out there about building is better, because it is. And, you should be able to customize your freedom and your own protection the way you see fit. So appreciate everybody there. Hawkeye, thanks for popping in, especially to you. You are always welcome on channel, and we appreciate your wisdom and delight in you coming in every time you do. Weapon, you got anything else to say tonight, sir?
No, man. Everybody have a good night. Be safe out there. Stay frosty.
All righty. All right. Chill out, all. Have a good night.